This incredible story happened to young Amelia Berger, who lived with her husband Thomas on the edge of a forest, in a small mountain village in Switzerland. Their house was the farthest from the center of the village, the last sign of civilization, before the endless sea of trees and snowy peaks. Amelia was in the last month of her pregnancy. It was their first child, long awaited and deeply hoped for. She had lost 2 pregnancies early on, and now the couple was afraid to even breathe, not to scare away the happiness that had finally come to their door. Thomas worked in the army in a special mountain unit that rescued people in extreme situations. His job was dangerous but important. He helped those who got into trouble high in the mountains, where regular help couldn't reach. His emergency bag was always ready so he could leave at any time, day or night, when he got a call. Amelia remembered how they met 5 years ago. She had gotten lost while hiking in the mountains, and it was Thomas who found her, exhausted and scared, after 2 days of searching. Since then, she had promised herself never to underestimate the power of nature. But fate had other plans. That's what happened this time too. The phone rang at 3 in the morning. Thomas listened to his commander silently, nodding from time to time, as if the person on the other end could see him. A group of tourists was stuck on a mountain pass because of an avalanche, and they needed urgent help. He was very worried about his wife. Their baby was due in 2 weeks, but something told him that nature might change those plans. "I'll call my parents," he said, packing his backpack quickly. "They'll come and stay with you until I get back." Thomas's parents lived in a nearby village, about 2 hours away. They were kind and simple people who loved Amelia like their own daughter. But as soon as her husband left, Amelia called his parents back and asked them not to come, telling them she felt fine. "There's no need, Martha," she told her mother-in-law. "The weather forecast says there will be heavy snow. I don't want you to take any risks because of me. I still have 2 full weeks. Thomas will be back by then." The truth was, Amelia just wanted to be alone. She loved her husband's parents, but right now, she needed time to think and get ready for the baby's arrival. Also, she felt a strange worry she didn't want to share with anyone. And the next day, just like the weather report said, a snowstorm hit, covering everything in a thick white blanket. The strong wind pulled several trees out by the roots and damaged the cell tower, cutting off all the village's communication with the outside world. By evening, Amelia suddenly felt the first contractions. At first, they were light and not too painful. She even thought they were just practice contractions. But then they became stronger and more regular. With horror, she realized that the baby had decided to come early, and right now, while she was alone, and a storm was raging outside. Amelia tried to calm herself. She had a backup plan. In the next village, there was a medical assistant, Mr. Jenkins, who could help deliver babies in emergencies. He didn't live too far away. Driving to his house would only take about 20 minutes. If she left right away, she could reach him before the real labor began. She put on warm clothes and took a small bag with the most important things, then left the house. The wind hit her immediately with its icy force, throwing sharp snowflakes into her face. She walked to her car, a small 4-wheel-drive Jeep that was parked on the driveway. She started the car and drove toward the road that led to the village. But after less than a mile, the car stopped. The gas tank was empty. Amelia hit the steering wheel in frustration. Thomas wanted to fill it yesterday, but he didn't have time, she whispered, feeling tears coming. There was nothing else she could do. She got out of the car and started walking along the road, hoping to reach the medic's house without trouble. But the storm had become so strong that she couldn't see anything farther than her outstretched hand. And soon Amelia realized with worry that she was lost. Instead of following the road to the village, she had, without noticing, turned onto a forest path and was now surrounded by trees, tall and unfriendly in the darkness of the night. Panic started to rise inside her. but Amelia forced herself to breathe steadily. Panic is the worst advisor in an emergency, that's what Thomas always said. She decided to find some kind of shelter and wait out the storm, then try to find her way back when morning came. Even though her contractions were getting stronger, Amelia kept moving through the forest until she saw a strange dark spot against the white snow. As she got closer, she saw it was the entrance to a small cave made by fallen tree trunks and rocks. With some effort, she squeezed inside and found that the cave was deep enough to protect her from the wind. It was dark and damp inside, but at least not as cold as it was outside. Amelia knew she needed to warm up and find a way to make a fire. In her bag, she had a lighter, a goodbye gift from her father, who had died of lung cancer 3 years ago. He always told her, "Never leave home without something to make fire, daughter." Now his advice might save her life. She managed to gather some dry sticks deep in the cave and lit a small fire. The flame was weak, but it gave her a bit of warmth and light, which was already a big help. Suddenly, the contractions became more intense. Amelia understood that labor had truly begun. And now her only hope was herself. She was going to give birth here, in this cave, all alone. "Not now, baby," she whispered, gently rubbing her belly. "Just wait a little longer." But the baby didn't seem to want to wait. The contractions kept getting stronger. And Amelia knew she had no choice, she had to get ready to give birth here and now. She spread her jacket on the ground and lay down, trying to remember everything she had learned about childbirth. Thomas had made her read lots of books and watch video lessons, just in case the baby came early and far from a hospital. Now, that knowledge might save both her and the baby. After an hour of painful contractions, Amelia heard a strange sound outside. It wasn't the wind or falling snow. It was the sound of footsteps, many paws walking carefully over the snow. She held her breath when she saw the head of a large wolf appear at the entrance to the cave. Their eyes met, her brown human eyes and the predator's yellow eyes. It was a female wolf. Large, with silvery gray fur, she seemed to be the leader of the pack. Amelia's heart nearly stopped from fear. Wolves rarely attack people, but right now she was weak, helpless, and losing blood, the perfect prey. Behind the female wolf, she could see several more glowing eyes, the whole pack was there. The wolf took a step forward, and in despair, Amelia grabbed a burning stick from the fire, ready to defend herself. But instead of attacking, the wolf stopped and lowered her head, as if studying the human in front of her. Time seemed to freeze. Then something incredible happened. The wolf slowly walked over to Amelia and lay down next to her, her warm body almost touching Amelia's shaking one. The rest of the wolves followed their leader and also came into the cave. They settled down around Amelia, forming a living circle of warm bodies. Their presence strangely calmed her, and the fear began to fade. The female wolf kept looking at her, and Amelia felt as if she saw understanding in those yellow eyes. As if this wild animal somehow sensed what she was going through. A new contraction made Amelia curl up in pain. The she-wolf suddenly stood up and came closer, sniffing her belly. And then something happened that Amelia could neither expect nor explain. The wolf began licking her hands, as if trying to calm her down and give her support. Labor continued through the whole night. The firewood was running out, and Amelia was afraid that she and her baby might freeze to death. But the wolves seemed to understand her fear. A few of them left the cave and soon returned, carrying small bundles of dry sticks in their mouths, which they dropped next to the dying fire. With great effort, Amelia added the sticks to the fire, and the flames rose again, filling the cave with warmth and light. As dawn approached, the contractions became almost constant. Amelia felt that the baby was about to be born. She prepared herself for one last push, when suddenly the ground beneath her started to shake, and rocks and snow began to fall from above. One of the large stones holding up the roof of the cave started to move. The earth under it, softened by the heat of the fire, could no longer hold its weight. In a moment, the roof would collapse, burying Amelia and the wolves. The leader of the pack immediately sensed the danger. He jumped up and let out a loud howl. At that signal, the wolves began running out of the cave. Amelia tried to get up, but another contraction forced her to the ground. The large stone finally broke loose and began to fall. At the last second, the she-wolf jumped forward and pushed Amelia to the side, toward the cave entrance. The stone crashed down on the spot where the woman had just been lying, and the cave filled with dust and small debris. Amelia found herself outside, lying on the snow, surrounded by wolves. The storm had passed by then, and the sky was beginning to brighten. Dawn was coming. But she had no time to enjoy the beauty of nature. With the next contraction, she felt the baby starting to come. The she-wolf lay down beside her again, and the rest of the wolves formed a circle, as if guarding her from some unseen danger. And when the baby was finally born, it was the she-wolf who came up to the newborn first. Amelia watched in fear as the animal leaned toward her baby. But the wolf simply and gently bit through the umbilical cord and began licking the baby, cleaning her from blood and fluids, just as she would do with her own pup. With trembling hands, Amelia lifted the baby, a little girl with a few strands of dark hair, and pressed her to her chest. The baby cried out, and that sound was the most beautiful thing Amelia had ever heard. At sunrise, Amelia sat with her back resting against the trunk of a tree, her baby in her arms. The wolves were still nearby, guarding the new mother and her child. The she-wolf lay closest of all, and Amelia gently reached out and placed her hand on the animal's head. The wolf didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into Amelia's hand, like a pet dog, asking for affection. Their eyes met again, and Amelia felt as if the wolf's eyes were smiling. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving us." At that moment, the sound of an engine came from the edge of the forest. The wolves became alert but did not run away. A minute later, an army jeep drove into the clearing, and a man in military uniform jumped out. It was Thomas. When he saw his wife surrounded by wolves, he froze, not believing what he was seeing. His hand instinctively reached for his pistol. "Thomas, no!" Amelia shouted. "They saved us. They helped me give birth." Thomas slowly lowered his hand, still trying to understand what was happening. He took a step forward, and the wolves moved aside, letting him pass to reach his wife and child. He knelt beside Amelia and looked with awe at his newborn daughter. "She's beautiful," he whispered, then looked up at the she-wolf, who was still lying close to Amelia. "And you protected them?" The she-wolf didn't move, calmly holding the man's gaze. There was no fear or threat in her eyes, only quiet confidence. Suddenly, another animal came out of the forest, a huge, hungry bear, likely awakened too early from hibernation by the collapse in the cave. It rose onto its hind legs, clearly attracted by the smell of blood. Thomas reached for his gun, but he didn't have time to draw it. The she-wolf jumped at the bear instantly, and the entire pack followed her. A brutal fight began, fur flew in all directions, and the air filled with growls and howls. The bear was strong, but he stood no chance against the whole pack. Wounded and frightened, he finally gave up and disappeared into the forest. But the victory came at a high cost. The she-wolf was badly injured. Blood colored the snow around her bright red. Thomas carefully handed Amelia and the baby over to the paramedics from his unit, who had just arrived. Then he walked over to the wounded wolf. The other wolves watched him closely but didn't attack, as if they understood that this man meant no harm to the leader of their pack. Thomas took off his jacket and gently wrapped the she-wolf in it. She didn't resist. Maybe she was too weak, or maybe she somehow trusted him. "I know a great vet," he told Amelia. "We can help her." As they left the clearing, Amelia and the baby in one ambulance, Thomas and the wolf in another. The rest of the wolves stood at the edge of the forest, watching them go. Their eyes glowed in the morning light like small golden coins. A year passed. Amelia sat on the porch of their new house on the edge of town, watching her daughter Luna play on the lawn. Lying next to the child was the silver-gray she-wolf, carefully watching the little girl's every move. After what happened in the forest, they couldn't return the wolf to the wild. Her injury was too serious, and even after she healed, she remained lame. Besides, the pack had gone far into the mountains without her, and there was no way to find them. So the wolf stayed with them no longer. Fully wild, but not exactly a pet either. She never showed aggression toward people and lovingly guarded little Luna as if she were her own pup. Sometimes, at night, she would leave and disappear into the forest for a few days. But she always came back to the girl she had helped bring into the world on that terrifying snowy night. When the local villagers heard the story, they didn't believe it at first. But over time, the unusual bond between the woman, the baby, and the wild animal became known far beyond their village, drawing the attention of curious travelers. Amelia often thought about that night and the strange connection that had formed between her and the wild creature. Two mothers, one human, the other a beast, had found a common language. Without words, understanding each other on a level beyond normal comprehension. Sometimes, when Luna was asleep and the she-wolf lay beside her crib, Amelia would sit next to her and gently stroke the silver fur. And she felt that in the animal's yellow eyes, she could see understanding and wisdom that humans didn't have. Maybe we're not so different from the wild beings that live in this world, she thought. Inside each of us lives an ancient instinct, as old as the earth itself, to protect our children at any cost. And it was that instinct that created the incredible bond between the woman and the she-wolf on that cold winter night when little Luna was born. And sometimes, during the full moon, the she-wolf would go out into the yard, lift her head to the sky, and let out a long, sad howl. And far away, deep in the forest, other wolves would answer, her old pack, who remembered their leader and missed her. And Amelia knew that one day, when Luna was older and the wolf felt her mission was complete, she would return to her kind. But until that day came, she would stay close, guarding the little girl with dark hair and bright eyes who had come into the world on a snowy night, protected by a wolf pack.